You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Beauty and the Beast After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Beauty and the Beast After Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. Bing is for doing, and today we are doing Beauty and the Beast. I'm Alikona Bradford, and today I am joined by a full cast of ladies, our permanent cast. So excited to have everybody here.
Hey.
You guys all know the wonderful and talented Miss Paige Sullivan.
Hello.
And of course, we have the equally lovely, talented Miss Erika Vieira.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here today. I know last week I had to miss the first episode, which was kind of sad, but I'm here for the second, and I'll be here for all the rest. So super excited to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. And you always have some great opinions, so very interested to hear what you have to say about this show. Let's get into it right away. I mean, we saw a little bit of a more side of JT, and then we got to see a little bit more of Catherine and her insight to everything, which I feel like a lot of stuff went back to her. I don't know. What was your guys' opinion of the show this week?
Well, you know, I want to go back a little bit to kind of like my impressions of the shows in general, just because I wasn't here last week. And I definitely had some impressions of it, given that I didn't know much about it going into it. Obviously, I'm a huge Beauty and the Beast fan, huge fan of the Disney movie, huge fan of the musical, and also this technically is kind of a remake of the series. I think it was in the
1980s.
Yeah, is it
it's like 87 to 89 is when it was.
Yeah, with Linda Hamilton. And it's interesting because I feel that, I don't know, I'm mixed about how they've interpreted the story of Beauty and the Beast, because I feel like it's very loosely kind of inspired by Beauty and the Beast, but I don't feel it really stayed true to either the series back in the 80s or even the just the story or fairy tale itself.
I agree with you. It differs from a show like you would think, like Once Upon a Time, where they're staying very true to the characters and who they are and what their purpose was in the fairy tales and that kind of thing. This show's taking that idea and running with it in a completely different angle. And I think that's part of what drew people into the show. They're Beauty and the Beast, something I'm familiar with, and then you watch it and it's very, very different. It's hard to try and grasp what they're going for right now.
I totally agree. And like and just kind of reading everything, there's a lot of really mixed reviews on the show. Like I think a lot of people were hoping for something that was closer and truer to what the actual story. It's not.
Yeah, but I mean, they even talk about that too. Any of the interviews with any of the cast are the first to say, like you said, it's loosely based upon the show. So it's not meant to be. They have the same characters, the same names, but it's supposed to be so modernized and put in a way to where it can go in so many different directions, which is kind of what they're doing with the government conspiracy. And then we have like this kick butt girl. Almost said something else. But I mean, so it's completely different. I don't mind it. I mean,
You're a fan?
Yeah, I do. I like it. This time around, it was definitely very different. This episode, we're in episode 2 right now, if you guys are just tuning in, and very different from the first one. Obviously, the first one, we're just getting to know the characters, but this was so wrapped around the case. And I will say I was a little confused, because within the things that I have read, what they did say is that the case is going to translate things that are going on internally between Catherine and Vincent's relationship.
Interesting. Okay.
This week, I am a little bit stumped as to how it did that.
No, it did. It did, because if you were listening, she was saying, I'm crossing lines. I'm taking what I want, and I'm crossing boundaries in my relationships with the people I care about. And that was what was happening in the case. Her friend didn't want to cross the line of her baby daddy. She didn't want to betray her son and call his father a rapist or a murderer. So she was trying not to cross boundaries. And at the same time, Kat was crossing boundaries with the Beast or with Vincent. And I don't necessarily think it's going to follow their relationship. I think it's going to shadow her life.
Gotcha.
Kind of.
Okay.
That's what I got this episode. The selfishness, the crossing, what he keeps telling her not to do, she keeps doing. And I think that's what they were trying to show. Because when you mentioned that last week, I was trying to keep an eye out for that.
Right.
But it wasn't necessarily a relationship thing. It was more of an inner thing, I felt.
Yeah.
That is interesting that's how they're going to do it. And one of the things too, kind of going back to kind of the comparison, and actually I was reading, we had like a comment on our iTunes, and someone mentioned like, stop calling this a remake. It's not a remake, and I agree. It's not. Whoever said that, I completely agree with that. It's not a remake, but it's just in some way it's a little bit disappointing that it's not for me. They, like you said, Paige, taking the story and ran with it. But one of the elements in the original series, the TV series, and I think it's missing in this, or maybe they'll develop it more as a character for Catherine, is it's the relationship of a beauty and a beast, and a beauty that's extremely superficial. It's all about looks. And the original character back in the old show, she was a district attorney, and she was very vain, and outside appearances are extremely important. I don't see that here with this character, and I think in some ways for a character arc or some kind of transformation, I don't know, like what you said, I don't know where this is headed. That's an element I think that's really missing for me, because you want to see her kind of, because it almost seems like this relationship with the Beast is too easy right now. It's like they're getting along. Yeah, he gets mad every now and then, but you already see
beginning.
It's the beginning, but you're already seeing that attraction. You're already seeing that stare. It's not like he's really into it and she's not into it. It's kind of already there, so it's now a matter of time. Okay, now when are they going to kiss? Okay,
Exactly. But here's the thing. Yeah, they're attracted to each other, but here's the issue. He has that uncontrollable side to him, and I think that's what's going to develop in the future, and that's what's going to keep them apart. Not necessarily the superficial thing. So yeah, it's changed a lot, but it's going to be that they're going to get close, and something is going to happen where he can't control something inside of him, and it gets dangerous for them, and maybe it gets to a point where he almost kills her or something. Because, and we're kind of going forward a little bit, but something that I did notice in this episode, if you guys happen to hear, is when JT was warning him to stay away from her, he had made mention and reference to a past relationship, like, what happened last time, maybe implying that possibly Vincent had hurt somebody in the past that he really cared about, beasted out, couldn't control himself, and maybe he killed her.
Beasted out.
Yeah,
I like that. Beasted out. We'll call it that. Beasted out.
Exactly. So, I mean, and the thing is another thing JT was freaking out about was like, she's a cop on top of that. So obviously that's what I feel like, he killed somebody in the past. And maybe he's killed more than one as far as lovers are concerned.
I took note of that too. I put like a big star. I was like, JT said this. Obviously there's something that she's going to dig up about his past. It's only a matter of time before we learn more about who he is. Because at this point, we know who he is. We know his DNA has been tainted with, and that he was supposed to be dead. We know that, and that they don't want him alive. But you don't know who he was, or the people he associated with, or his morals, or any of those things.
Well, he was a doctor. I mean, he's an intelligent person. I mean, there's an element of him that you kind of do know. I mean, he went into the military. He wanted to do that whole thing. So there is. And that's the one thing too, like in the original, even the cartoon, like the cartoon obviously portrays it as a monster, as like a beast, but what you find is that inside he's like a good person. So I think they're trying to do that here. The only thing is, he's still a hot dude with just a scar on his face.
Exactly.
So
Well,
I don't know. That's.
I want to get into that later, as far as when we talk about predictions, because I do have a little bit of insight into that. There are some interviews that he did as far as his opinion and his take on the Beast, so we'll definitely get into that. But right now, I do want to backtrack a little bit, and let's get into the actual case in the episode and just give a little brief synopsis, so for anybody who did miss the show, you guys can kind of figure out what's going on, and then we can go from there. So does that sound good?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So we start off right away, and there is a girl that's been murdered. She's pushed off of a building, and we don't know why. Maybe possibly she committed suicide. We're not quite sure. So that's the case right now. We're trying to figure out who killed her. She's a dancer. It could have been anybody. She has an understudy. Maybe
she was a stalker.
Yeah, maybe she was envious. So that's what's going on there. I don't know if any of you ladies want to kind of pick it up and kind of type in?
I think that this case, it was pretty open shut. I mean, there wasn't a lot of back and forth. Last week when we were watching, there were so many different people they were following and so many people they were questioning. This, it was, the top 3 people was the top 2 people that led to the final person. And so, it's the obvious people. Her best friend and her understudy, the girl who no longer is Odette in, Swan Lake. She's no longer the star of the show. Obviously, that's your first suspect. But when that's not panning out, they go to the next one, which is a stalker type guy. He's the janitor. And he stole all her stuff. And he's pretty creepy and he follows her around. But he leads to more info. Between her and her friend, and something with the police station. And so this was pretty open shut though. I feel like they didn't drag it out like last week and how they kept going to different people and there were so many different storylines within the murder. This was pretty cut
straight to the point.
To the point. But for some reason it lasted like the entire show. Which I think was strange. It made it very CSI like, I think.
Yes, very much so.
But so you find out that her best friend had a baby. She didn't break a toe. Which was her excuse for being an understudy and leaving the company for a year. And the baby's name's Joshua. And the reason they were at the police station was because Joshua's father raped her friend, Gemma.
The victim who passed away.
Gemma, who was thrown off the roof. And so once we find out that, we kind of want to know, who is this mystery guy? And I immediately thought, obviously, it's the head of the ballet company. I mean, it's the guy they all look up to and want to, be with. And like she said, he doesn't have to force himself on anybody. He didn't have to rape her. Like, she would have done it willingly. But I think that's another part with the lines being crossed in the relationship. She wouldn't have crossed that line because that's her best friend. She who had a baby with him. She wasn't going to cross that line, and that's where I think that...
and I think she was going to come clean, which is why he probably pushed her off the roof.
Well, that's why. Because she told him what she was claiming, so he pushed her off a roof. Easy cover-up, apparently.
So, with that whole storyline, and it's, I guess now going into the second episode, it's clear that there's obviously going to be a kind of set pattern per episode. And that's what I was wondering last week as I was watching it, is are they setting this up so that every week it's just going to be a different case?
Yes.
And that's it. So... For me, I don't know how I feel about it because it's just like the cases are open and shut, like you said, and then you can only delve so much into it, and also go into the storyline between the Beauty and the Beast. So these are going to be kind of, in some ways, it's kind of contrived. The cases themselves, I feel like.
It's hard to decide what you want to get drawn into. I don't want to get too sucked into this murder case
because then they're not going to be over.
Because then they're going to be focusing on her relationship with Vincent again. So I feel like you're jumping too much.
It's like 2 different shows put into one show.
I think so,
and the CW, I don't think normally does this kind of thing. I feel like most of their other shows are very... linear,
long connected storylines, and then there's multiple storylines, but the storylines all connect to one, and also they all continue for a while. So I was honestly a little bit disappointed to see this kind of structure because I'm not a big kind of CSI cops kind of every episode you're shut, you're done, you're moving on. So I hope that they start to focus more on.
I think they will.
I think they'll have to.
They will have to because I mean, it's not going to be interesting if they do the random kind of cases every single week, So
that's not what's going to keep people coming back.
No,
the cases aren't going to keep me coming back.
Well, that's why people started watching it in the first place. And something we talked about last week, there was an interview with Jay Ryan, and he was saying something about this show that he really likes and why he wanted to take this role is because it's putting the old school romance back into it, because they can't communicate via the computer and Facebook and cell phone, and they can't be in public scene with each other. So now there's this like on the sly, let me write you a note, let me show up somewhere and let's meet secretly, but he wants it to be more like Romeo and Juliet-esque, because he feels like a lot of kids these days don't really get exposed to that with TV because it's so let's jump in bed and just do the deed and call it a day, whereas this, it's going to be slow, drawn out, but they're really going to get to know each other and connect and have that romance in there. So that's the part I'm really looking forward to.
I love that concept too. I think that's a great concept. I mean, do you guys see that happening?
No, because they've already gotten too close for me. I mean, at the end of this episode, I thought they were already going to kiss. And I was wondering, how can you do this? It's episode 2. And
where are you going to go?
Yeah, and even episode 1, we were saying there's this immediate attraction. You can tell there's this tension between them, and the music doesn't help, and you're thinking it's going to happen this episode. And I feel like you're always in a show like this, you want it to happen, but I was kind of like I was willing them to back off. I just wanted it to be not drawn out, but we like to see it progress. I'd like to see them be friends and learn about each other, and then have that spark that makes them want to be together.
And one thing that
no, go ahead.
Okay, one thing that is missing that was a big part of, well, I just know like the cartoon and all that, is her boyfriend at the time. What was his the one in the cartoon? His name was like Gaston or something like that.
But she didn't like him.
No, but the thing is that there was another guy in the picture, and they're trying to make that with
the forensics guy, Evan.
Yep, Evan, but she doesn't seem to be that into Evan.
No.
And I don't know if they're gonna try. What I see that they're gonna do is eventually make it more. This is like what I see, or my prediction is that they're eventually gonna make it like she's gonna end up wanting or being attracted to Evan because he's a normal guy. He's in real life. He's there. But I don't see that yet. Like, I almost feel or wish that she had a boyfriend already, or she had something, so that there's something more other than the beasting out being the main conflict between the two of them getting together. Right now, that's it. And it doesn't do it for me. It sounds like it doesn't do it for you guys either.
No, I mean, I think it would have done it for me if it was just not so quick. I just really wish there was that thing that was keeping them apart more.
Honestly, I want to get into Catherine this episode because she was driving me a little bit bonkers. I'm not going to lie. And I was surprised that they did connect so quickly at the end of the show, because she went into it very selfish, and that was just her putting up her boundaries. But everything she did, every time she ran into Vincent and went to his lair, his house, she was always trying to talk about her mom. Help me figure out this case. Only you can help me. You know, this, and that. And he was like, back off. Like, let it go. That you're putting me in danger. You're putting my roommate in danger. Just let it go. It's in the past. And she... Even when she was acting like she was there to help him, like, let's make this a case out of you. You are a victim. Let's right your wrongs so you can live out in the open. But my mom, and he'd be like, you know, every time he was ready to maybe let her in, she just went back to mom. And that would drive me crazy too.
Well, I think that's their way of putting up that wall between the two of them. It made it seem more, this episode, as opposed to last episode, was more... It was really a business-based relationship for her. She was going there for her own agenda. She was going there. She didn't care about that picture, you know, that he showed her. Yeah, she asked some guy's name, but she had a hidden agenda. And then I think what they're trying to show is her progression this episode. You know, she realized, it clicked. Her sister made her realize, you know, you're not caring about the people who are in your life. You're caring about mom, who passed away 9 years ago. And yes, it's important to know what happened or to close that door for yourself, but you have a father and a sister and a friend, her, you know, her partner, who you have in your life, and you should appreciate and value. And I think that's where at the end of that, she decides, you know, when they're looking at that picture, I think she's really gonna ask questions that, you know, mean something to him and are gonna make a difference in their relationship and don't have a hidden agenda for her. Because I think throughout this whole thing, she's, like you said, me, very selfish and detail-oriented and goal-oriented, and she's not, like, stopping and breathing and, like, appreciating what's around her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, just more of, like, an overall kind of impression of this, too, and I think I mentioned this to you guys earlier. I have a problem with her right now just because I just don't find her character believable as a detective. She's so young looking, and what they say is, like, you know, 9 years ago. 9 years ago, it looked like she was like in high school or something.
That's true. She had just graduated college 9 years ago.
Was
what
it
happened?
college?
Yeah, from an Ivy League college.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
so that would put her at least at what?
22.
No, not now.
No, 9 years later.
Now.
Yeah.
So 29.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, it takes a really long time in the real world to become a detective. Like, it's not something that happens very quickly. And I just don't see it as believable. She's too young looking. I just don't see it. And that part of it bothers me, too, in watching the show. Because I'm like, I don't believe her as this hard, butt-kicking.
But you were even saying, though, that you like that about the show.
I love it when there's, like I was a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I love how she was kicked butt and she was out there. And I love it when it's, like, girl power and they can really fight, you know. But I just don't. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful belle or, you know, beauty. But just and I like her. She has a very deep voice. She has a very kind of strong presence, even though she's petite. I just don't believe her as that detective. Right. The Beast, on the other hand, I think he plays a great Beast. Yes. I like his voice.
Yes.
The deepness of his voice.
Presence in general.
Yeah, and he's got that shaggy thing kind of going on. So I like that. and her and I don't the character of the detective is just.
I think that's
rubbing me
the
the
hard
wrong
thing to
way.
believe when she's being attacked this episode.
Yeah.
For the
Great
mere
fighting
that.
scene though, but it was a great scene.
Great scene.
Yeah.
If I could believe that she could hold her own against a martial arts
But-
government person.
She okay, okay,
I
but
totally agree with you. I was like, come on, really? She's gonna kick
Yeah.
this guy's butt. This guy looks like he's like pretty legit in
Yeah.
karate or whatever.
See, okay, but here's my thing. Like, well, because I'm Asian and I'm little, and I swear, to God, I think I can kick anybody's butt too. I don't know if it really would
But
happen
he
or
was
not.
little.
But he was, you know.
I'm
but
little.
he
I'm
was-
not Asian, but I'm
Oh.
like 5 feet tall.
Oh.
I don't know if I
We're
can.
genetically like predisposed to kick butt, but no, but you know, and she did take martial arts growing up, and she was a dancer, and she did gymnastics. So a lot of that stuff, I mean, in real life, obviously helped her with the character. And I know that her character, they train with real detectives, so they can better, you know, get into the character and stuff like that. But I think with anything with martial arts, you see people doing stuff, and they're like this little, but if you know the right technique, you can like.
I totally get it. I totally picking up what you're putting down,
Yeah.
but I still don't believe her. I
Okay.
don't. There's just still something. I just still don't believe her as that kind of a character.
It's not even that.
her partner.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
she seems
she's
like
very like.
she's good,
Mhm.
and I could see her being in that role, and I just I just don't.
no.
No, it
I
doesn't
just
do it for
I just
me.
think it's not so much that I don't think she could be great at martial arts.
Yeah.
It's not that she's little, none of that for me. It's that I don't think the everyday detective in New York City can pull off what she pulled off twice. I mean, last
That's
week
a
in the
good
subway
point.
system
Good
with
point.
Three
three
people.
Yeah.
three people attacking her.
With a knife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and guns, and you know, this week with the martial arts, and I believe there's people who can do this, and I believe if she's well trained in that, of course. But I think in the role she's playing, like the detective who she is, I mean, her chasing down that guy, she you know, they're
It's
out of
just-
breath, and it's just you're trying to figure out who she is,
Yeah,
you know, and
you
there's all
are.
these things about her. I'm compassionate. I have a sister. I'm like this guy. I miss my mom. I'm a detective, and I
Yeah.
kick butt. It's like, who is this girl? I
Mhm.
think that's the hard part. I don't know.
No, I agree. Her character for me is not working yet, and I'm hoping it's going to go in a direction where I believe it, or I see some development, or I'm feeling some empathy towards her, because for now I'm actually kind of not,
Oh.
even though it's that mom died and everything, but
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling it.
You know, and speaking of fighting scene, though, I want to also go backing into another fight scene that she did. There was the perverted guy or whatever that supposedly her and her
the
partner,
stalker.
yeah, stalker, excuse me, that was chasing her down, or excuse me, they were chasing him down, her and her partner. And if you noticed, she got caught up with Vincent,
Mhm.
and her partner caught the bad
The other
guy.
guy.
But I just thought that was really interesting because it just shows that she's getting sidetracked by him, and I think that's going to start happening in her career a little bit
Oh,
more.
yeah.
You know, and I also think that she's going to start really dealing with a lot of not internal conflict, but internal conflict, because she was trained to think a certain way as a cop, and he's thinking a certain way, not as a criminal, but in the sense he is that really opposing force. So she's having to betray what she's knows to do instinctively. So, for example, the fight scene that we were just talking about, she actually almost got killed-ish, and then here comes the beast. Ish, you know. Here comes the beast again to the rescue, because that's just who he is. And he accidentally kills the guy because he's just got so much brutal force.
Yeah.
And so when they're in the forensics lab, and then she's talking to Evan, you know, and he's like, "Are you sure that you did this?" Going back to her being so small, he was like, "You're what, a buck too? I don't know if I believe that you caused this type of damage."
Injury, yeah.
So here she is now having to lie, not only
In
to
her personal life.
yeah, and now she's lying to this guy, and it could be putting her job at risk. So now she's, like I said, betraying what she's crossing boundaries, like you were saying, and I think that's
And she even said that at the end too. She's like, I tend to turn everything into a case, like my way of coping, my way of dealing, which is kind of going into who she is. Of like, maybe that's why obviously it's so obvious why she's attracted to being a detective and all that, you know. But like, kind of that picking up on what you said, Alikona. Like, she even said that herself. Like, that's what I do. And
right. That's how she pushes people away.
yeah. She just turns them into a case, and then work. So,
Right.
So
Well, I think for our viewers at home, if you have your opinions on Catherine, excuse me, if you have your opinions on Catherine, you should probably check us out on iTunes and watch our podcast. You can rate us, you can comment, tell us what you think, tell a friend to come watch and tell us what they think. This is a new show. Everybody's got their opinion. Everybody wants to tell us how they're feeling and what they're thinking. So check us out on iTunes.
And we read all the comments, and we want to hear what you guys want. So this show is for you guys, the listeners, the fans, and we really want to know, what you'd like to see. So definitely comment, rate us 5 stars, hopefully.
Yay!
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, gotta love that extra support coming from back behind the scenes.
Are we moving on?
Yeah, you know what? I want to really quickly talk about JT because we got to know his character a little bit more today. He's that motherly, or I guess fatherly role, we can say, because it's
paternal.
There you go.
I don't know. Yeah, he's got this instinct, I guess, for taking care of his friend.
Yeah, taking care of his friend, but also himself. I mean, he's at risk too, because if the government finds out that he's been hiding Vincent this whole time, he's done.
He's dead.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought him up. So what do you guys think in regards to the relationship between JT and Vincent? What do you think, like, for JT, what's kind of, what's
he getting out of it?
Yeah, like, what's in it for him? Like, obviously they're friends and stuff, but what do you guys think?
I think partially loyal friend, but in some of the reading I've done, because I've done a lot of reading about this show, there is this possibility that he knows more than he's letting on, even to Vincent, as far as about a cure. Because Vincent is going to be and is on this, like, ever-going journey to cure his,
the antidote.
Yeah, find the antidote. And so that was one of the reasons why all these chemicals were set up in their lair, which, P.S., by the way, really is a chemical factory, I read. So it is high danger. I thought it was interesting.
Legit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But talk about method acting.
Yeah, right?
But anyway, and supposedly he's helping find this antidote, but they're saying that quite possibly he already knows it. So I don't know, maybe he's part of this huge conspiracy, because even Catherine's mom was brought into it a little bit as far as her possibly being a part of the cure. Or not part of the cure,
you wonder
but part
if
of the
she
cause.
was brought in
Right.
or if she did it on her own. I mean, because why else was she killed? I mean...
Right. Well, and he has been. That's the thing is, Jay Ryan was talking about his character, and he was even saying that the reason he was actually following Catherine from the get-go wasn't because he was following Catherine, he was following her mom, because he thought she had the cure. And so, in a sense, quite possibly maybe he was protecting her too, but now the only thing that is left is Catherine.
But he doesn't even want to know. That's the thing. He
Yeah,
doesn't even want to know anymore. He says, me and JT, we've tried to find the antidote. It doesn't work. We can't do it. If anybody can do it, JT can do it. He's got the skills, he's got the knowledge, he's got the chemicals.
Right.
So he's basically given up on that, and I think the problem was she came back into his life and redid everything that he probably put away, put in the back of his mind. It's not an issue anymore, and she's bringing it back out.
So what was his, I guess, what do you think, what was his goal at that point? He was just going to exist? Like in a hidden lair, you know? Which is somewhat disappointing as a viewer watching the character, because you want to root for someone who's fighting and wanting to fight for it. So you're wondering at this point, what is his motivation? Is he going to change his mind, or you know what I'm saying? So I guess at this point, prior to him meeting Catherine, he had just given up on life, on existence.
I think so.
Play Xbox all day long, like.
Honestly, I think that she gives him a sense of hope and a spark for having a normal life. She brings normality into his life. Like, this woman can be attracted to him possibly, because something he mentioned, she's saying, I keep showing up. Well, I keep showing up too. And it's true, because it's somebody he can talk to aside from JT. And it's female companionship, which is just human nature. Yeah. Not that he's human anymore, but it's something that people long for.
Well, the one thing I'm thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't watched the original Beauty and the Beast in a while, but in that, I mean, he's tucked away in this palace, this lair, this castle, and he's hiding from the world. He's doing exactly what Vincent is doing. He's in the back hiding, hates himself, hates who he is, hates who he's become, and misses the fact that he used to be a normal human. And I think that's where they're trying to make it very Beauty and the Beast like. And I honestly think, just the way we're talking about it right now, if they'd named it anything different, we wouldn't be this upset about it. People wouldn't be looking for this comparison and be grasping so much. If it was, we knew it was based loosely on Beauty and the Beast, we wouldn't be so upset. But the fact that it's called Beauty and the Beast is what's making us try to draw connections to why he's this person, why she's that person.
And I don't feel that they've really developed that lonely kind of character, really. Like, you don't get the sense that he is moping around in his lair and sad that he can't be out in the real life. You just don't get that. And you also wonder, like, why? I mean, he's better looking than 99% of the population out there, like, even with the scar. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it because he gets angry?
Yeah, he doesn't want to hurt somebody.
Not only that, I think he thinks he can't go out. He can't be seen, you know?
Yeah,
but why?
Because the government,
Oh,
because
the
he's
government.
dead. Because according
He's
to
not
all the
real.
files, he's dead. And if he's not dead, then they're going to make sure that he is killed.
No, I understand that, but there's still, like, he could have changed his hair. He could have done something to be out in the real world. I guess I'm not seeing that they're really providing that kind of, that sense to me that he's really there alone, upset, given up. I don't know. Feels like I just don't get that.
You like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
What I'm gonna throw out there is like, but do you really want it to be so much about him just being in angst and that?
No, but I do feel that they needed to show that at the beginning to develop it further, to show that now Catherine is bringing something new to
Just
him.
for a little bit more development as opposed to just straight into it.
Exactly. I think they needed to show. I needed to see more of him and him giving up or something. And maybe they'll provide flashbacks. I don't know.
Yes.
So maybe they'll show that. But I need to show like that moment where he lost hope, he lost it, and he's done. And we got to root for this relationship because we got to root for him to come back out. And I'm not there.
You want to see her drag him out of like, despair. Yeah. And this just seems, like I was saying before, so easy. And it's episode 2, and I feel like it's already done. Like the book's closed. They're going to be together.
No, but maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they want to get your hopes up, and they're just about to, and that's when stuff is going to hit the fan, and it's just going to, he's going to start mutating and changing into something else to where now he's more beast than he is human, and it's getting him back on track to being human again.
Is that Alikona's prediction?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I love you.
He's going to be beast.
Yeah.
He's going to beast it
mode.
out.
Yeah. You know, and actually I want to get into a little bit of news and gossip just because we keep talking about
News and gossip.
Got the sound effects. Because we have been bringing it up so much about the criticism that this show has gotten, and it has. It's been, I've read in, the Hollywood Reporter, LA Times, everybody is so upset with the fact this guy is so hunky.
Yeah.
I'm personally not. I
I'm
mean,
not
as a
offended
viewer,
by it.
I'm definitely not offended by it either.
I won't turn away the TV.
I'm just jealous.
Not jealous. I mean, I won't change the channel. I'm waiting for him to be shirtless.
Yeah.
Like the Hulk, just rip it
true.
off one day. But outside of that, they're really upset because of basically everything that you're upset about, Erika. Like the fact that because he's so good looking, it's hard to believe him as a beastly character and stuff like that. But one of the things that Jay Ryan had said, he did say prior to all these criticisms, is that it's not supposed to be, they weren't wanting it to be exactly like the original. That's not what it was about at all. Again, they were inspired by it, but that's not what it is. And for him, as far as only having a scar, he feels like it is still showing that he has a beast and that he has inner demons, and it's all about what's going on internally, because everybody has that internal beast inside of them that wants to come out, and it's a matter of having the strength to suppress it. So the scar is a reminder that something is seeping out of him that he's trying to keep in. And I thought that was a very interesting metaphor for why he looks like that.
I get it. And like we said last week, it's not so much about him being a beast. It's an internal beast and the baggage that he has, and emotionally beastly. Not necessarily looks-wise. I mean, who's going to watch if he's really a heinous-looking beast? I mean, that's going to turn off a lot of teenage girls. I mean, nobody's going to watch that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's smart about it. I'm giving them kudos because I feel like females, especially that young teenage audience, they're so loyal. You look at pop groups like, Justin Bieber, or even back in the day, like your New Kids on the Block, like those girls that were young girls during New Kids days, and now as adults they're coming out, those same girls are going to the concerts. They're so loyal. So if you can get a really great female audience wrapped around this show, you've got ratings.
Well,
to me,
the CW has great loyalty. I mean, the people who watch these shows are very loyal. I know people who watched, we were saying this earlier, watched One Tree Hill till the end, till the 10th season, when nobody thought it should still be on the air, but they still watched because you get connected to these people in the show. and you get to a point where you say, I can't even stop watching because I've invested so much time in this show. I have to finish it out.
Like, I just have to.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing a disservice to myself if I stop because I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they have going for them. So the problem that I'm seeing with the comments people are making and the way we're feeling is that they have two very different audiences. They have the CSI murder mystery people who are going to be drawn to a show like this, and the people, you know, who want the romance and want the CW like happy-go-lucky part. And I think that's what's hard about it. I mean, if you were looking for a murder show I would have gone else, I would never have gone to the show.
No, exactly. And like I said at starting at the beginning, it's like I don't like those kind of shows. Like I'm not attracted to them. I don't watch them. And when those scenes come on, I kind of like tune out. Yeah. And then I get drawn back in. Like, oh, okay, now what are they going to be doing? So I think you have made a really good point. And it's just going to be wait to see how the audience pans out and how popular it ends up being. I don't know.
I want to read one quote just because I thought it was so interesting. It's from USA Today, and the writer had said, "Let's just say when a man screams at you, I could kill you in less than a second. Now go." That normal response would be to go. And, you know, obviously she sticks around. And one of the criticisms that the show is getting, or at least the CW is getting hit hard with, is the fact that they feel like there's this potential underlying message to young girls that it's okay to be attracted to a really good-looking man with a very aggressive personality because that is sexy.
Hell yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. And then the fact that she keeps on coming back.
It's
so
like an abusive
I've read that
relationship.
too.
Exactly. And that's where they're...
I've read that. Yeah, I did a bunch of reading too, and that was a big thing that came up. It's the fact that she's coming back. She's coming back for more, and he's aggressive, and he's getting to the point of look like he could hurt her, and she wants more of it. So I mean, you know, you could always go and interpret a lot of things. Like a lot of different shows send so many different messages. You know, I mean, some of the other CW shows promote a lot of like promiscuity, and they promote, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like
that's true. They're just getting a lot of
they are. I mean, even like
it's a new show. I mean, it's inevitable, and it's a show that people have been kind of interested in.
Yeah, curious about.
I think people take things so literally. We were saying this so literally these days that you can't even play around with those kinds of things because this day and age, people look up to stars, look up to their shows, and kind of do what they do. And that's why things like, you know, the Rihanna Chris Brown thing's such a big thing. And then I think this show is kind of going along with that. You don't want to send that message that it's okay to let somebody be hurtful and angry. And even if in this case we're saying it's DNA, you know, and he can't help it, and this is who he is, it's still not okay to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Right. And why is, I mean, apart from the fact that obviously he provides a key to her mother's death, but why is she attracted to that? Is it the mystery? Is it that kind of unknown? You know, then you start going deeper into that. Like, why is there that attraction?
Yeah, like, is it because they shared that moment? Like, he was there when she almost lost her life and when her mother lost her life? Is it that thing that connects them?
Or that he saved her, and like for her, it's like the Prince Charming, the savior that comes in, and the white. You know, who knows what it is, but that's what I see. It's just kind of why is she attracted to him? I mean, there's so many different things we can pick up that I think it's got to be developed further too.
Well, I think we should get into that into our predictions, but first, Paige, you want to tell us a little bit about the fall lineup?
So we have 50 shows in our fall lineup, so there's something for everybody, whether it's reality TV, murder mysteries like we're talking about right now, or, you know, your typical CW love stories. I know I'm working on several shows.
There's a lot of Oregon
why don't we go around and just say the other shows that we're working on?
Yeah, so I'm working on Castle and Heart of Dixie as well. So if you're looking for murder, come to Castle. If you're looking for love, come to Heart of Dixie, please. Watch us.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for fashion and great makeup and competition and reality, I am doing America's Next Top Model with Erika.
Yes.
So definitely tune in for that. What else are you doing?
And speaking of America's Next Top Model, for you fans of the show, every week we do bring on the eliminated contestant.
Yes.
So that's a really fun treat, and we get some fun insider scoop about the show itself, the contestants. So definitely check that out. And in addition to Beauty and the Beast, Top Model, I also do Jersey Shore. So which we just filmed earlier tonight. So if you like the Jersey Shore, definitely check out our after show. We actually had Amy, the host of the Jersey Show after shows, in as a special guest today, and we're working on actually getting the Jersey Shore cast members here in the studio. So definitely check that out.
I want to meet Snooki. I'll have to come early that day.
She's been here at AfterBuzz before.
So I've heard,
from American Horror Story. So she's a big fan of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
All right.
Cool.
So let's wrap it back to Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, let's get into our predictions,
Yeah.
guys.
So I guess I'll get started
Yeah,
with
go for
predictions. You know, I guess not so much as predictions as that hopes and dreams for the show. I'm really hoping that they have a further development of Catherine's character. I want to see more depth. I want to just see more of her character. And yeah, and I'm hoping that it's not going to be every single episode where there's going to be a different open and shut murder mystery case.
You know, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I think what's gonna happen, they fast forwarded a lot in this show. I think they're gonna do a lot of flashbacks because in this last episode they kept talking about who they used to be and how they want to get back to that person, and they find that within each other. That's how they connect with each other. So I think there's going to be a lot of flashbacks of Vincent. We're really going to see those moments that led up to him making the decision to become a beast, which obviously he didn't know he was going to be doing. He was injected with something that was with the strongest and fastest animals in the world, and they put that into the genetic gene splicing. So I think they're going to show that. And the same thing with Catherine. I think they'll probably go back to her innocence or who she was before when she was just going to the Ivy League school.
Or maybe with her sister, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to develop that relationship, because apparently now her sister's going to be in the show. And I didn't foresee that happening, and she kind of just popped out of thin air and was like in her apartment. So for me, I really just want to see the relationships develop.
Yeah.
I just want to see more. I don't want it to be so quick. I don't want it to be so, this is what it is. This is who we are. We have this attraction. Like, I want it to, they have to fight for it for me.
They will.
All right. Well,
all right, ladies.
Well, where can we find everybody really quick?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm Alikona Bradford. You can follow me on Twitter at KissMyPassport or on Facebook and Tumblr, Alikona Bradford.
And I am Paige Sullivan. You can follow me on Twitter at Paige Sull, S-U-L-L.
And I am Erika Vieira, and you can find me on Twitter at Erika Vieira LA.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later! Woo!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.